Imagine a battle, right? But not with guns and soldiers. Think
Right.
quiet corridors, immense power, a fight for the actual integrity of our justice system. How do you stand firm when the pressure is just enormous and everything feels like it's on the line? Today, we're going to dig into a really extraordinary book. It's called Holding the Line Inside the Nation's Preeminent U.S. Attorney's Office and Its Battle with the Trump Justice Department. And it's by Geoffrey Berman. Now, this isn't just, a memoir, it's a gripping insider story of a critical time in American law. It really chronicles one U.S. attorney's fight against some profound political interference. And this is happening in what many consider the country's most, preeminent prosecutorial office. So our mission here, what we want to do in this deep dive, is give you a really comprehensive, in-depth summary of this powerful book. We want to approximate a full narration, really highlight the key insights through storytelling, but we'll be careful, no major spoilers or giving away key plot points. And just so you know, you are experiencing a unique two-host AI conversation powered by Google's NotebookLM. It's designed to give you deeper, more dynamic book summaries, just like this one. Okay, so the basics. The full title again. Holding the Line, Inside the Nation's Preeminent U.S. Attorney's Office and Its Battle with the Trump Justice Department. Author is Geoffrey Berman. It came out in 2022 from Penguin Press. Genre-wise, it's nonfiction, definitely a memoir, but also a legal and political narrative. Got strong elements of investigative reporting in there, too. And the timing of its release, that was right in the middle of intense debates about political interference in law enforcement. That context is pretty crucial.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what Berman's book does right from the start, really vividly, is establish just how significant the Southern District of New York, the SDNY, really is. I mean, for generations, this office has been seen as the top U.S. Attorney's office. It's earned that reputation. Think about its jurisdiction. Major financial crimes, international terrorism, public corruption, all centered in, a global hub.
Right. New York City.
Exactly. Its cases have global impact. And crucially, its independence, its fierce independence in federal prosecutions, that's always been its defining feature, its hallmark.
And the story unfolds mostly in Manhattan, doesn't it? Federal courtrooms, those big legal offices. You can almost feel the atmosphere. But it's not just contained there. The narrative stretches out, involves these intense interactions with the Department of Justice, the DOJ, and various political players down in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, and the backdrop, the social context Berman lays out, is squarely the Trump era. That period, as you'll remember, saw frequent, sometimes really unprecedented clashes between federal agencies and political appointees. It put a huge spotlight on law enforcement and, presidential power.
Mm-hmm. It really sets the stage for the kind of pressure Berman walked into.
It really does. So he takes over as U.S. Attorney for the SDNY in 2018. He's appointed by President Trump. But there's this shadow hanging over his arrival.
You mean his predecessor, Preet Bharara?
Precisely. Barr's abrupt firing just a year before sent, shockwaves. Not just through the SDNY, but the whole legal community. It set a kind of chilling precedent. So Berman knew, right from day one, that even though the SDNY was traditionally fiercely independent, it was now under a new kind of political lens from Washington.
A very direct lens.
Absolutely. And that shaped his whole approach. He had to be, let's say, hypervigilant from the get-go.
And according to the book, that vigilance was needed pretty much straight away. He talks about noticing this subtle but, persistent pressure coming from main justice DOJ headquarters. It wasn't always like a direct command, right? More like nudges.
Exactly. It often came through informal channels, maybe strategic leaks, sometimes even attempts to reassign cases away from his office. It's fascinating, actually, how these early signals, which seemed maybe small in isolation, really laid the groundwork for bigger conflicts later on.
Right.
Berman details different forms this took. Maybe an unusual inquiry about a case against a political opponent that had been dormant, or a sudden interest in something that seemed minor, or even, a veiled suggestion to maybe slow down an investigation into an ally.
Not leaving fingerprints, so to speak.
Kind of. These weren't usually formal directives with a clear paper trail. But the cumulative effect, Berman argues, was pretty clear. An attempt, sort of insidious, to bend the machinery of justice towards political ends. And that's exactly what the SDNY prides itself on resisting. The book shows how these requests, viewed together, revealed a pattern of potential interference.
Yet, despite that pressure cooker environment, the SDNY under Berman was handling a huge range of really significant investigations. It really shows the office's scope. The book gets into the prosecution of Michael Cohen, Trump's former lawyer. That obviously got massive attention.
Huge.
But it wasn't just political figures. Berman talks about the cases against Michael Avenatti, remember him?
Oh, yeah, the lawyer who was everywhere for a while.
Right, and Chris Collins, who was a sitting congressman,
Right.
and then the Jeffrey Epstein cases, deeply disturbing stuff.
Absolutely horrifying.
And beyond those headlines, the office was tackling other critical things: powerful, big pharma execs, complex criminal syndicates, even repatriating Nazi-looted art.
It really underscores the sheer volume and the variety of the work they do, often under this cloud of external pressure.
Yeah.
But Berman's account is pretty clear that even with all this independent work going on, officials back at the Justice Department were actively trying to influence things. And we're not talking just general oversight. The book gives specific examples: officials trying to sway charge selection, or the timing of trials, or even how ongoing investigations were talked about publicly, all seemingly for political reasons.
And that really raises a fundamental question, doesn't it? If you connect that to the bigger picture, how does that kind of influence just chew away at the foundation of impartial justice?
Exactly. It completely compromises the whole idea that justice is blind. It suggests, maybe powerful people are above the law, or that investigations can be used like weapons. Berman's story highlights these quiet daily battles. If he hadn't stood firm, it could have set a really dangerous precedent for independent prosecution everywhere.
And this is where that title, Holding the Line, really comes into focus. He talks again and again about refusing demands that he felt just didn't have a proper legal basis. Demands that seemed to cross ethical lines, legal lines, the independence line, and often at, considerable personal risk, professional risk, too.
Knowing it could cost him his job.
Right. His story is just infused with this commitment to defending the office's independence, its traditions. He lays out the dilemmas he faced, the lines he drew internally, and how he tried to shield the office.
And then Bill Barr becomes Attorney General. You might think things would stabilize, but according to Berman, nope.
It got worse.
That's what he says. The pressure became even more direct, more insistent, especially around investigations, ongoing or potential ones, involving people connected to President Trump. Barr, as he's depicted in the book, seems to be orchestrating these more concerted efforts to shape cases and even the leadership of the office for political gain.
And Barr's actions, as Berman tells it, became less subtle over time.
Yeah, he details pressure on Berman to resign or maybe take another job somewhere else. The goal, Berman suggests, was pretty clear. Get him out of the way to install someone more, let's say, compliant as head of the SDNY.
That feels like a major escalation, directly interfering with the leadership of such a critical office.
It does, and it leads to what's really the climax of the book. Berman's firing in June 2020. It was dramatic.
How so?
Well, Barr publicly announced that Berman was resigning, but Berman immediately pushed back, publicly disputed it, said he wasn't resigning, wasn't going quietly.
Wow, so a public standoff.
A very public standoff, an unprecedented disagreement playing out in media about the circumstances of his departure. It really highlighted the intense drama and, frankly, the high stakes involved.
And a key moment for the office's integrity, something Berman really emphasizes, was what happened right after he was fired, his insistence on procedure.
Yes, that was critical. He made sure specific procedures were followed to protect the ongoing cases from outside interference. And crucially, he ensured his deputy, Audrey Strauss, would succeed him as acting U.S. attorney, not some outside political appointee parachuted in.
So that continuity was key, a strategic move in his final hours.
Absolute paramount, he argues, for preserving the independence and the momentum of the SDNY's work at that critical juncture.
As you process all these complex dynamics, the implications of Berman's stand, it's worth remembering to seek your own clarity on challenging issues. Our Mindful Moments YouTube channel actually offers AI book analysis on countless subjects, designed to inspire reflection and rational thought. Might be helpful.
Good point. And Berman's book gives you pretty clear sketches of the main players in this whole drama. Obviously, there's Geoffrey Berman himself. He comes across as principled, very legally precise, and just steadfastly resistant to the political pressure he describes. His actions really revolve around defending that independence.
Okay.
Then Preet Bharara, his predecessor. He's referenced early on kind of as another example of efforts to control the SDNY, setting that ominous precedent.
Right.
Bill Barr, the Attorney General under Trump, he's depicted as, well, orchestrating these pervasive attempts to shape cases and leadership for political reasons.
Right.
Donald Trump, the sitting president at the time, his direct and indirect interventions or alleged interventions in the Justice Department are central to the narrative.
Makes sense.
And finally, Audrey Strauss, Berman's highly respected deputy. She succeeded him as acting U.S. attorney, and she's portrayed as someone with strong integrity who kept the office on its independent course.
And the book also touches on the defendants, Cohen, Avenatti, Collins, Epstein, which underscores the kinds of cases where this interference was supposedly happening.
Exactly. It shows the breadth of the work and the specific pressure points.
How does the book actually read? What's the style like?
It's pretty linear, chronological. It walks you through Berman's appointment, the major incidents, the conflicts ramping up, and then that dramatic firing. He does a skillful job, I think, of blending rigorous legal reporting with, well, storytelling. There's dialogue, factual summaries of complicated legal stuff, detailed accounts of what was happening inside the office.
So it draws you in.
Yeah, he doesn't just tell you what happened. He tries to bring you into the rooms, into the moments where these battles were fought. You get a sense of the human stakes, the institutional stakes. It's actually quite compelling, keeps you turning the pages. And at its heart, the book really distills down several powerful, interconnected themes that resonate way beyond just this one story. Well, first, that fundamental tension between law enforcement independence and political pressure. It's always there, maybe, but it can become acutely dangerous in certain climates. It also underscores just how fragile American legal institutions can be when they're directly confronted by executive power. It shows how norms, checks, and balances can be eroded, not just by outright commands, but by subtle, persistent actions, too.
Right, that slow creep.
Exactly. It's also a story about professional integrity, about commitment to public service when facing huge, career-threatening challenges. And ultimately, it really exposes the profound risks to justice itself when partisan politics intervene. Which leads to this important question, really for all of us. Yeah. What happens when the guardians of justice themselves have to guard against political influence from within? And how do individuals like Berman choose to hold the line when basically everything is on the table? The book gives you vivid examples of those choices.
And how was the book received when it came out?
Oh, it got significant media attention, as you'd expect. Widely described as the kind of cautionary tale about politics undermining justice. It's been referenced by public officials, Senator Dick Durbin mentioned it, talking about its implications for DOJ integrity, the need to protect the rule of law.
Oh.
It's also generally praised for being very readable, making complex legal and political issues pretty accessible and obviously relevant to ongoing debates.
Were there criticisms?
Sure, some critics felt that while it powerfully described the problems, maybe its proposed solutions to the systemic issues weren't always fully persuasive, but its value as an insider's chronicle of that crucial period.
Yeah.
It seems pretty undeniable. You know, this book really serves as a powerful reminder. The fight for institutional independence, it isn't just one battle you win or lose. It's more like a continuous holding of the line. It's a responsibility shared by individuals, yes, but also by the integrity of the systems themselves, and importantly, by public awareness. Kind of makes you think. What does holding the line mean for the principles you uphold in your own life, especially when you're facing pressure?
That's a powerful thought to leave people with. For more perspectives, more deep analysis on all sorts of subjects, do be sure to check out Mindful Moments and our podcasts. You'll find further insights there to help you navigate complex information. And remember, you can click the link on screen for the in-depth book critique. Please subscribe to our channel, share this deep dive if you found it valuable, maybe consider purchasing the book using the link provided. And always, always remember to think rationally.